backed about 4 tables back. Sort of on 2 tables in and 4 tables back. Right after this. Yeah. Wife's Kathy, 43rd, if you can read that.
How long do you want him to run it then? How long do you want him to run the video after you say it?
Oh, maybe. Is it today? You ready? Good afternoon. Good afternoon, mayors and guests and friends. Good afternoon, all. Welcome to the 81st winter meeting of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. I'm Michael Nutter, Mayor of the City of Philadelphia and President of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and let me officially welcome you all to this great winter meeting. Let me introduce the conference leadership, some of whom are on the dais. Of course, our Vice President, Scott Smith of Mesa, Arizona. Mayor Smith. Our second Vice President, Kevin Johnson, asked me to express his deepest regrets at not being able to be here, but Mayor Johnson, as mayors do, he's working on a city matter. He's back home making sure that the Sacramento Kings stay in Sacramento. We acknowledge the fact that the city's business always comes first. He's out doing the job. Let's give a big, big round of applause to our second Vice President, Mayor Kevin Johnson. We have some of our past presidents here on the dais, and of course, Elizabeth Kautz of Burnsville. Mayor Kautz. Don Pasquale from Akron. Don, he is here. You know he's here. Joe Riley of Charleston. Joe? I know out in the audience, I saw the two of them. When they're around, you know that something's up. Doug Palmer and Manny Diaz, past presidents of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Give it up for both of them. I want to thank and recognize our host city mayor. I just saw Mayor Vincent Gray, from the great city of Washington, D.C. Mayor, thank you so very much. And of course, we could not do what we do. As wonderful as we may all think we are as mayors, the U.S. Conference of Mayors really comes as the great work of our CEO and Executive Director, Tom Cochran, and the incredible staff here at USCM. Please give it up for Tom and the team. Thank you, Tom. Let us also congratulate and recognize the Mayor of Auburn, Washington. Mayor Peter Lewis and his wife Kathy today are celebrating their 43rd wedding anniversary. I think I can get away with this as a mayor. We should give an extra special round of applause to Kathy for that has got to be tough. He's a great guy, but I mean, yeah. I'll introduce a variety of today's speakers as we move through the agenda. Well, we've got a couple special announcements. So first, let me remind everyone that the conversation about the 81st winter meeting does not simply happen in this room. It's also online. You've seen the monitors all over the place. And so I want to invite you, whether you are in this room or watching our live stream, to use the hashtag USCM2013 when you are tweeting. And that's a cue for all of you now to start tweeting. It's a great way to see what others are saying and to take the conversation beyond this room. Ladies and gentlemen, I also have one other very special announcement. We're joined here today by someone who has had a long-lasting impact on the world of entertainment and culture in this country and, as I mentioned, around the world, and continues to have a great impact in the areas of technology and innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's hammer time. Welcome to the conference, seriously. Welcome, MC Hammer. Please welcome MC who is with us today. Give it up for MC Hammer here with us today. I just thought of it while I was sitting up here. Thanks to the staff. They put up with these kind of insane ideas at the last minute. Ed Summers, thanks a lot. Let me also take this opportunity to thank Siemens for sponsoring today's luncheon and for their strong, enduring, consistent support of the U.S. Conference of Mayors over the years. Please give Siemens a big round of applause. Let me also thank a number of our other sponsors for this year's winter meeting. And let me just say to the mayors and to all of us here, again, the U.S. Conference of Mayors does an incredible amount of things throughout the course of the year and over the years. But it is very, very important to us that we have good corporate partnerships and sponsors, and that our business council gets the kind of support that you provide. You are very, very important to our work. And so I have a list of sponsors. I'm going to ask that we try to hold our applause, although some may jump out at you, and I want to make sure that we properly recognize them. And so the Americans for the Arts, HDR, Lineberger Goggin, Pfizer, Siemens Corporation, Starbucks Coffee Company, Sprint, Visa Incorporated, Veolia Water North America, Walmart, and Weight Watchers International. Can we please give them all a big, big round of applause? Let me also acknowledge Mr. Charlie Nelson, President of Great West Retirement Services, the conference's new partner for the Deferred Compensation Program. Charlie, would you please stand up? This is a very, very important program, and we look forward to a long relationship with Great West. And I hope all of you have the opportunity to meet Charlie Nelson and thank him directly for Great West's support of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. My great Vice President has helped to once again keep me out of trouble. I did not see Beverly O'Neill is also past president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and she is here. Beverly, where are you? Good seeing you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I apologize for that. Let me provide an overview of where our organization has been the last 6 months and where we are going. And let me say again, it has been one of the highest honors of my time in public service, now nearly 20 years in elective office and about 30 years involved in the great business of politics, to have been elected by this organization last year in Orlando as president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors on a personal level is just one of the greatest experiences that I've ever had. I thank you all for all of the support and the assistance. It has been an incredible 6 months, and I can assure you that the next 6 months will be equally exciting, but we also have a tremendous amount of hard work to do. But let me say thank you, and the city thanks you. It's a great honor that you've bestowed upon the city of Philadelphia. Now, as is always the case with the U.S. Conference of Mayors, there are certain events, of course, that we can plan for, and there are moments in history that were not expected and will never be forgotten. As we left our annual meeting in Orlando last year, we knew that Washington was facing a crisis on the fiscal cliff. We spoke with a united, bipartisan voice, calling on leaders in Washington to reach a fair and even-handed budget deal to avoid the devastating sequestration and middle-class tax cuts that would have crippled our economy. We also called on Washington not to lose sight of what must remain our top priority, job growth. We called for smarter, locally targeted investments in infrastructure. We say that training and education must be expanded to build the workforce we need for a 21st century global economy. And we called for an expanded focus on ports and exports and advanced manufacturing to create more jobs in America and reduce our trade imbalance. On all of these issues, we took aggressive action. Our Conference of Mayors engaged directly with the Obama administration and Congress through every step of the fiscal cliff negotiations. At the National Press Club on September 15th, we released a letter which our Vice President Scott Smith, our Second Vice President Kevin Johnson, and I drafted, and 131 of our mayors signed, calling on Congress to adopt a bipartisan and balanced approach to deficit reduction by incorporating spending cuts with additional revenue. We took the same message to both political conventions and to the presidential debates, where mayors of both parties were active and visible participants speaking for common sense solutions to the pending fiscal crisis. And just 1 week after the election, our leadership came to Washington. We met with Vice President Biden in the White House, the entire House Democratic leadership, the Senate Majority Caucus, and rising leaders such as Senator Marco Rubio and other key decision makers pushing for action on the fiscal cliff. During those meetings, we made it known that cities have already led on deficit reduction. Mayors know how to balance budgets. We do it every day, we do it every year. And through this recession, we made the tough decisions that Washington had been unwilling to make, while we also maintained key investments that strengthen our metro economies. We have suffered dramatic cuts from Washington. We have seen the Community Development Block Grant drastically reduced. We have sacrificed for the greater good, and we made it known that now Washington must do its job without simply passing the buck down to America's cities and local taxpayers. We faced a very serious threat to one of our historic tools that we have used for investing in infrastructure, tax-exempt financing. If we had not acted, we would have seen the erosion of this most basic federal-local partnership. Up to New Year's Day, mayors were actively fighting for a budget deal that would move America forward, not backward. In the end, we were successful on many of our priorities. The budget agreement did not include any limitations on tax-exempt financing. Sequestration has been delayed for 2 months. Middle-class tax cuts and tax investments for working families were maintained. But clearly, this fight is far from over. I'll take that. I'll give you another one soon. The budget deal did not include the new infrastructure agenda that the Obama administration and our organization has long been calling for. We all know that investments made in roads and transit and airports and ports and water systems create jobs. Most of these jobs are in the private sector, which gets contracts then to do the majority of this work. It puts our people to work. We also know that the private sector needs infrastructure to move goods and workers around our nation and within our metro and local areas. That is why this issue has had strong bipartisan support from groups such as the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and, in the past, from Congress. It was a missed opportunity when Congress rejected the infrastructure package as a part of the fiscal cliff negotiations. But the need remains, and our call for action on infrastructure remains united and strong. We will not stop pressing for infrastructure improvements in our cities and metro areas. We also know that Washington's leaders did not resolve the sequestration debate. They only delayed a final decision by unfortunately kicking the can down the road. So this will require our continued focus as we fight to protect key investment programs from the arbitrary and uniform cuts that would come from the sequestration knife. And there is no doubt that the issue of tax reform will be highly debated in the coming days. And so, unfortunately, the threat to tax-exempt financing is still very real. We will fight that fight. We will fight it every day. We will fight it every week. We will fight it all year. We must win the fight on tax-exempt financing in this country. We must continue to educate both the administration and the Congress on the negative impact that limitations to tax-exempt financing would have on the private sector and the job creation that comes through financed infrastructure investments. And Washington is well overdue to act on comprehensive immigration reform. There is too much at stake for both our economy and our social fabric for us not to resolve this issue now. We are here this week in Washington carrying this message forward. We will be back again in Washington next month, pressing the same message, and we will not let up. But as you know, there are unplanned events in our nation's history that rock us to the core, become a touchstone for action as well. In late October, the nation held its collective breath as Superstorm Sandy headed toward our East Coast. We all lived through Katrina, and so we knew the devastation to lives and communities that nature can cause. This organization rallied to help prepare for the storm, and in the days following the storm, we united in response. I want to assure our mayors from New York and New Jersey and Connecticut and all the other impacted regions that we stood with you then, we stand with you now, and we will stand with you in the days ahead until you receive the resources you need to rebuild your communities and help your constituents. We are with you. But simply helping our cities and communities to heal the scars of devastation is not enough. Washington cannot continue to simply deny the basic fact that climate change is real and is really having an impact, a major impact on the health and safety and economy of our country. Our storms are getting stronger, more devastating, and more frequent. Our children and their children will look back at this moment in history and they will judge us. They will ask the question, when there was still time to act in a logical, measured, and balanced way to protect our environment and develop sustainable energy sources, what did you do? Mayors have led on this issue in cities all across the country. Through our Climate Center and Climate Protection Agreement, this Conference of Mayors has led on the issue of climate change. Now is the time for Congress to protect our future. No more denial, no more debates, just action. Protecting our future. This is something that I believe weighs on the minds of mayors more than most other political leaders. Every day, mayors think about the children that walk or take a bus to school in our cities. Every day, mayors worry about the brave police officers and first responders who work to protect our neighborhoods. And far too often, it is the mayor who gets the call about a tragic crime committed with an illegal gun that has resulted in the loss of life. It may be the life of a child, a police officer, a young black man, a young woman. It could be anyone in our cities. But it's the mayor who visits the family members who have had their hearts torn out, and the mayor who attends funeral after funeral after funeral. And that is why this Conference of Mayors has long championed the issues of public safety and crime reduction. Since the assassinations of Dr. Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy, we have pushed as an organization for common sense solutions to reduce the access to guns by those who simply should not have them. We have called for background checks for everyone who purchases a weapon, whether in a store or at a gun show. We have demanded that assault weapons and large capacity magazines designed to serve our military needs but with no practical use on America's streets or in our neighborhoods be banned. But for far, far too long, our federal government has been unwilling to act. We thought Columbine would move Washington to action. We were wrong. We thought Virginia Tech would move Washington to action. We were wrong. We thought Tucson, where a member of the United States Congress was shot in the head, would move Washington to action. But sadly, again, we were wrong. We thought Aurora would move Washington to action. Once again, we were wrong. But then, on December 14th, 2012, we all witnessed a tragedy in Newtown, Connecticut that, even after all of the others, we still cannot imagine. 26 lives taken away from us at an elementary school. 20 children, ages 6 or 7, shot dead at the Sandy Hook Elementary School, and 6 of their great teachers and administrators. A terrible, unforgivable moment in American history. We cannot get those lives back. We cannot get back the more than 30,000 lives lost each year to gun violence. But we can and we must act to help protect the lives of those in the future. This has nothing to do with taking guns away from those who lawfully own them. Mayors respect the Second Amendment rights and the legitimate use of firearms. But your right to own a firearm should not interfere with my right to live. The gun violence that we see every day in America's cities and suburbs must end. I know that this is a difficult and challenging issue, but this can be done. Because mayors know how to talk about common sense solutions that we need for challenging issues. And that's what's needed on this one. In an open letter to the President and the Congress sent 3 days after the Newtown tragedy, over 200 mayors urged immediate action. We called on the President to exercise his powers through executive order and the Congress to introduce and pass legislation to make reasonable changes in our gun laws and regulations. Specifically, we called on Congress to enact legislation to ban assault weapons and other high-capacity magazines. We see the legislation now being prepared by Senator Dianne Feinstein and others. We ask that they strengthen the national background check system and eliminate the existing loopholes, and strengthen the penalties for straw purchases of guns. The plan that President Obama unveiled yesterday includes much of what we asked for in that letter. We will work with the President and the Congress to get critically needed legislative reforms enacted now. We also should encourage corporations to follow common sense principles and business practices to encourage gun safety. We will support and encourage any official of any political party who understands that the American people deserve to be protected from threats, both foreign and domestic. And as mayors, we devote our time and energy to serving our communities. That is public service. On Monday, the nation will celebrate both the inauguration of President Barack Obama and the legacy of the late Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. As mayors, at this moment in our history, it is good to be reminded of Dr. King's words. Dr. King has said many, many times, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. These are certainly those times. History will measure us on where we stood on fiscal issues, on the environment, and most importantly, on the education and safety of our children. Dr. King also reminded us that everyone can be great because everyone can serve. Today, I want to call special attention to the role that national service members play in helping to make us all stand tall on the challenging issues that we face every day in our cities. Across our country, national service programs provide a cost-effective strategy for managing disaster relief, stemming the dropout crisis, engaging at-risk youth, enhancing environmental sustainability, catalyzing community revitalization, and so much more. And that's why I'm so happy that Wendy Spencer, CEO of the Corporation for National and Community Service, the federal agency that runs AmeriCorps, Senior Corps, and the Social Innovation Fund, could be here with us today as I announce the first annual Mayor's Day of Recognition for National Service. I'm pleased to share that, as she mentioned to me earlier, that more than 90 mayors have now signed up across the country, and they've agreed to join us on April 9th. On April 9th, to recognize the passion, the impact, and the cost-effective problem solving that comes from national programs in cities all across our country. Let me conclude by saying this. The strength of this organization should never, ever be doubted. With great leaders like our Vice President, Scott Smith, and Second Vice President, Kevin Johnson, and all of you, and our great leader, Tom Cochran, and our staff, each and every one of you, working together, we can, and more importantly, we will make a difference in the lives of millions of Americans across this country. We represent central cities and suburbs and rural areas of all shapes and sizes in all parts of the country. Some of us are Democrats, some are Republicans, some are independents, but most importantly, we're all mayors. We're on the front lines for the American people, the residents of our cities and metropolitan areas. They hear us and they listen to us. Our power is our collective voice, and if we use it, we can bring about great and needed change. Now is the time to do just that. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, not next year. Now. Thank you. Thank you. Late last year, we awarded our first round of Grow 1000 Gardens and Green Spaces Grant Program. This year, we are awarding our second round of grants. USCM's multi-year partnership with Scott's Miracle-Gro will help improve our nation's cities through gardens and green space development. In my own city of Philadelphia, we work hard to continually improve our city's greenscape and improve access to healthy foods for all of our citizens. This conference over the last few years has adopted a number of resolutions calling for cities to develop, grow, and maintain food gardens in parks. From inside City Hall, we must improve access to healthy foods and expand cities' efforts to increase the number of municipal community gardens. The Grow 1,000 Gardens and Green Spaces Grants Awards program grew out of our collective desire to promote and recognize mayoral leadership in this area. Let me now call on Sue Luck, Director of Corporate and Community Partnerships, to announce this year's award recipients. Sue?
Thank you, Mayor Nutter. It's really an honor to be a part of this year's winter meeting, and it's not every day that you get to be the opening act for the Vice President of the United States, so it's really good to be here. The U.S. Conference of Mayors and Scott's Miracle-Gro last year came together with a single goal in mind: to bring more greenscapes to cities across the U.S. As mayors of our nation's cities, you know what green spaces can do, whether it's a community garden or a pocket park. Gardens and green spaces have the ability to bring about urban revitalization, economic development, and also provide safe places for our children to play and grow. So through this public partnership of Grow 1000, this year, the conference and Scott's Miracle-Gro traveled the country, putting in gardens and green spaces in Corpus Christi, Texas. We were in Cleveland. We were also in Columbia, South Carolina, Baltimore, Maryland, and San Francisco. And through this, we were able to see a lot of change taking place across the country. I'd like to take a moment to thank Tom Cochran and the leadership of the Conference of Mayors. It has been we've received such wonderful support from the organization. And in addition to the work of Mayor Villaraigosa and the Food Policy Task Force, your focus on nutrition and also creating local, healthy food economies has really helped pave the way for this relationship. And also Vice President Biden and the White House administration, all the work around getting active, getting kids outdoors, healthy nutrition. It really is, again, in perfect alignment with our program, and we couldn't be happier about this. For us at Scott's, we really believe it's important to help nurture and grow the communities where we live and work. And for myself, I've been with the organization for about 8 years, and every spring I have the privilege of traveling the country and visiting different communities, helping them be a little bit greener. And it really is just truly humbling, and I've never ceases to amaze me when you have a group of dedicated people who want to better their community, whether it's through a food garden, a learning garden, a green space. And we're just really excited about where this dynamic partnership with the Conference of Mayors is going to go over the next couple of years. So now on to our grants. We had an incredible response from the mayoral membership this year, and it was a very competitive process, and we want to thank all the mayors that applied. The projects really demonstrate just how gardens and green spaces can impact the future of our cities. And so now we're going to announce the winners for this year. The winning cities are Bridgeport, Connecticut, the Little Asia Athletic Field and Community Garden, Cincinnati, Ohio, the Mill Creek Edible Forest, Fort Worth, Texas, Children's Vegetable Garden at the Fort Worth Botanic Garden, Sacramento, California, the Edible Schoolyard Project, and Tuscaloosa, Alabama, the Alberta Parkways Garden. So if we can have the mayors and their representatives, we're going to take a group photo over here if they can come to the stage. But again, congratulations to all of our winners this year.
Yeah, come on up. Don't be shy.
where are you? Okay, good. I'm looking for you. Okay, this lady over here, please. You're at the wedding, please. Father of the bride. Smile, please. Thank you. Congratulations, everybody.
Okay. Let's give all of our award winners one more big round of applause. And my incredibly detailed notes tell me now that our program will continue in a few minutes. We're about to take a very short break, and we have a very special guest that we'll be bringing back shortly.